Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It is time to have a look at some of the changelogs that have come out the last few days for War Thunder. This is the basic updates, the bug fixes, and a few other things that they've done along the way. There's also a data mine, which I thought I would just mention briefly because it's very small and not really worth just sticking in its own video. And basically what they did is they changed the BR of the Hunter Mark 58A in ground RB. It is now 9.7 again instead of 10.0, so we'll have to see if that actually makes it to the live server. That is what it is on the dev server right now, but remember, these things do get reverted pretty quickly if they are wrong, and it would be a little bit weird if they would change its BR and then revert it so quickly. Anyway, let's get into the changelogs. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get in there. The first update is update 2.43.0.112, and this one basically focused mainly on the graphical side of things, but also some other parts of the game. For example, with aircraft, there was a bug that caused some air tutorial missions to be impossible to complete due to the lack of targets or balloons. That's been fixed. That's kind of funny. Can you imagine turning up to do one of the tutorial missions and you're just stuck there forever? As a new player, always fun. I do remember with the historical missions, some of those, especially after many of the updates of the game, have become very hard to complete, if not impossible, because of the changes they've done to it, so not really too surprising. Also, jammed weapons now take damage on jamming and are shown in the damage in X-ray view. So you have to be a little bit more careful with jamming your weapons now, especially in, I suppose, something like arcade. But in realistic, of course, if it jams and you reload it, you have to be on the airfield, so you repair your vehicle as well. But in arcade, you can technically reload them and they will still be damaged. So you've got to be a little bit careful. That's kind of an interesting change. It means that it promotes people not just jamming the weapons all the time and reloading them after a very short period of time. For ground vehicles, the Pantsir S1, the Tor M1, and also the HQ-17, a bug where the camera offset from the target center was preserved when switching targets has now been fixed. So now when switching targets, the camera will be centered on the target, which is a lot better. That's technically how it should be. Therefore, it'll be easier to see what's going on. I got to give the Tor and the HQ-17 a little bit more of a go. I did actually enjoy playing the Tor more recently, but that was mainly because we were just getting hammered by so many CAS elements. It was just, it was like, Independence Day when everything just flies all over the place and hammers everything. That's basically what it was like. So I needed to get out the Tor to try and deal with some of it. And we did, but there was still a lot of it left, unfortunately. For naval vessels, there was a bug where being destroyed in a ship while dropping mines would cause the mines to be dropped the next time the player respawned in battle, which... So basically you just drop a bunch of mines, and then when you spawn, you just drop a bunch more in the spawn. Kind of random. Mines is one of those things which I'm super happy they added to the game because it's a really interesting mechanic, but it's one of those that is never really going to be very powerful because you need to be in the ascendancy in order to use them. And in War Thunder, most of the mechanics that are really useful are to get you in that kind of ascendancy position. If you're already in it, you don't really need like more ascendancy, so therefore nothing really goes on with it. Then there was a bunch of graphical changes, so this has improved a few things. So there was a bug where the MFD reflections in the cockpit glass did not match the current image of the MFD. That's been fixed. There was also a bug where water reflections could be distorted on water quality settings at medium and below, so that's been fixed too, so it doesn't look a little bit wonky. Seversk 13 Winter, there's a bug where the ground textures could flicker. That's been fixed. I remember after the last update, there was some trees which had some very odd kind of colors, but I think they fixed that over time. The only issue I have with these winter maps is it kind of hurts my eyes. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When it's like a really sunny map and there's a ton of stuff like kind of happening and the kind of light reflects off the ground, if I get like a bunch of those maps in a row, it just gives me a headache. But I understand that's kind of a personal issue because my eyes are incredibly sensitive to light. There's also a bug where the hood in the cockpit was too bright when night vision was turned on, making markings in the hood difficult to read. That has been fixed, so that's fantastic to see. And then on the interface side of things, there was a bug where the NVD enable key could be displayed in views where NVD activating was not available, and that's been fixed too. The fact that they made NVD stock, I think, generally is better. It basically means that, you get access to things pretty early on. But one of the only problems with it is it means that the modifications disappeared. And with the modifications disappearing, what that ends up meaning is you have a situation where other modifications which may be seen as more useful, unfortunately get put at the back of the bus and they're harder to research. Sometimes it's actually better to have more modifications because each modification is cheaper. And without a replacement, that means other modifications are more expensive. Then we had update 2.43.0.114. This came out today as of recording. And once again, there's a bunch of aircraft stuff and some interface stuff as well. The LA200, there was a bug that caused parts of the aircraft to float in the air when the tail was torn off. That's been fixed. I've also seen this with the Jaguar, the nuke-carrying Jaguar. It actually has access to, unfortunately, the countermeasure pod on the side, but it's not fully there. It's basically just the casing for it, and this basically means that it just looks awkward and wrong. The 37mm HO203, they changed the explosive type HE to RDX. We talked about this the other day. This basically gives it 1.6 times explosive amount or explosive damage instead of 1 times. Doesn't really change its penetration though. Then the Rafale CF3, a bug that caused some MFD pages to not fit into the central MFD, has been fixed, which is nice. And then the Hunter F58. So this is kind of confirming what the data mine says. So the mistakenly increased battle rating in ground realistic battles has been decreased back to 9.7. The vehicle should be increased. It has Mavericks. It isn't my fault that people don't know how to use them, but the fact that it has Mavericks at that BR is just ludicrous, and it's kind of a sign of the problem of these types of things. If people understood how to actually use those Mavericks effectively, it would be incredibly annoying to actually face. But yeah, unfortunately that's not the case, and yeah, these vehicles are allowed to be a lot lower BR than they should be. The G8N1, the battle rating in ground realistic battles, has been increased to 6.3, the same as an air realistic. With the implementation of the planned BR changes, this change was not reflected in the final table by mistake. Is somebody just hammering people with the G8N1 in ground realistic? Like, I understand it has like the big booms, but it doesn't have a lot of them. I think it has like, what, 2 it can carry? The 2 800s, if I remember. Let's see. Oh no, it has the 3 800s. So yeah, maybe people flying it in ground realistic and just hammering people. I understand, like, it in air, it's a gunship, right? Like, you can stay at high altitudes. It has the 20mm. It's really easy to stay alive. But like, when it comes to ground, is it really taking over ground? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that that's gone up in BR, but stuff like the Lancasters and the Lincoln haven't, even though they have some pretty juicy bomb loads. The Focke-Wulf 190A5, the battle rating in ground realistic battles, has also been decreased to 4.3, the same as in air realistic. With the implementation of the planned BR changes, the change was not reflected in the final table by mistake. It seems like there's a few of these. Has this happened before? Once again, what is with these miscommunications going on? Like, what is ended up happening when it comes to this stuff? Like, why are we kind of set up in this way where they're implementing things but they're not actually telling everything that's implemented? It's very odd. This reminds me of the devlog stuff again, and I don't know whether it's miscommunication or if there's just so many moving parts people can't keep up, but they've really got to get better at this stuff. So simple as. Then when it comes to the interface stuff, there was a bug that caused the move of a vehicle to or from the locked crew to be possible. That's been fixed. And also a bug that caused the total modification research bar in the vehicle modification window to sometimes move lower and overlap with some other interface elements, and that has been fixed too. So overall, I would say that's pretty good. Like, it's one of those things which is incredibly nice to see. The interface stuff has improved a lot of the time, and with the covert disclosures yesterday, talking about how they're going to improve the profile stuff, I'm hoping that in the next updates we can get back to normality with also the improvements that they've done recently. As always, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.